right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Welcome to the Talking Turkey Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Manny the Commission Menace. Of course, I'm joined by my high Tim Lewis. How you doing, Tim?
Good. How about you?
Doing good. And of course, everyone's cup of coffee, Cody Williams. How you doing, Cody?
Doing great. Another weekly win. Top of the league. Let's go. Doing great. Feeling great.
Doing great. Feeling great. Yeah, you're keeping that second place, a firm grip from that. So good for you. We just all got done watching Monday Night Football. It was a snooze fest, right? It was a battle.
I don't know. Was it for Tim?
It was a little bit exciting. There was some.
It was, yeah. I mean, hey, it's good to see them win. It's good to see their defense play that well, like they do. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but it was against the Jets, so can't get too confident. They got to play Detroit next week, so I'm sure they'll come back down to earth. But a win's a win.
Yeah.
It was nice to see the defensive line play as well as they did, right? I mean, I know the Jets' offensive line is not that great, but seeing Bosa and Mac do what they do, it's always fun to see that.
A lot of guys in on that. I think they had 7 or 8 sacks. Just they dominated. So that was definitely the key to the game right there. So,
oh yeah, I had a Herbert. Obviously, I didn't expect a lot from him, as we know that Jets defense is stellar for real football purposes. Fantasy, they're actually outside the top 10, which is interesting, but they just don't let anyone move the ball against them. They're very, very good. And Sauce Gardner is the real deal. So wasn't expecting much, but I had my game locked in, and we'll talk about that. But overall, very, very good, fantasy week. There were some crazy performances. We saw, rookie quarterbacks who had historic games. We saw that the game in general was nuts. We'll talk about that. Within our own fantasy league, we had some tight games that came down to the final kick. Extra point kick.
An extra point doink.
An extra point doink. Yeah, Dicker the kicker. I mean, we can kind of jump right into it, Tim. So we're watching this game. We're watching it unfold. You and Alex, you're playing Chat GPT, Dot Watson, Dot, I don't even know, the T2000, and you kind of just scrapped your team together. You talked about your waiver wire pickup quarterback, Derek Carr. You ended up picking him up off the waiver wire with this week, which was a great move. And tell us about that game, that matchup. What did that happen? How did you feel through the week and then going into Monday Night Football?
I didn't feel that great going into Monday night. I mean, I was down by 1 with a kicker against Keenan Allen. Didn't seem like the greatest odds. I figured the Chargers would struggle to move the ball, so I hope that maybe Sauce would shadow Keenan and kind of shut him down. It's kind of feels bad to root against my own team that way, but yeah. I think I didn't even check to see if Derek Carr was the only. I know he was one of the higher waiver wire scoring quarterbacks, but I don't know if he was necessarily the highest.
I think if you want to factor in Josh Dobbs, Dobbs ended up as technically the highest, I believe. Scored him by a couple points, but there's no way anyone would have picked him up.
Yeah, that would have been. I would have been just insane to do that. But yeah, so to have kicker Dicker the kicker score 1 more point than Keenan to get me the tie and then the win with more bench points was kind of crazy. So it feels gross to win with 71, but I'll take it. So
you take it. That's why we have different levels of tiebreakers, right? We have the points for the bench points first as being the first tiebreaker. Then we have points for being the next tiebreaker, so forth and so on. We hate ties in our league. I'm in a league, Tim, where I actually tied someone the second week of the season, and it was a tie even with decimal points, and I was like, unbelievable. And the tie stood up, So I found that to be kind of odd. So I don't like ties. I think wins and losses, keep it simple with fantasy football. So yeah, Tim, I mean, you had Madison on the bench, who got you a big game finally, right? I mean, with Cam Akers.
Of course, he's on my bench. Yeah. It's like Gus Edwards all over again. Just
at least you didn't cut him.
Yeah. No, it's like, especially now that I hate to see that Akers got hurt, but now at least that should get Madison some more work, although he's really not that good anyway. But I was glad to see him at least, get involved in the passing game a little bit more. And Josh Dobbs looking competent. I don't know how their rookie quarterback would have looked. I don't know exactly what's going on with him. I know he got hurt. I think he had a concussion, was it?
Yeah, it was concussion trying to run it in from the 5.
Yeah, in a couple leagues, I put in Atlanta's defense because of that scenario. I was like, okay, they're going against a rookie quarterback at home. Atlanta's going to be in a good shape here because their defense is pretty decent, right? And they run the ball well. Well, Josh Dobbs comes in the game on 3 days,
tape.
3 days practice. I mean, he knows 10 plays in the playbook, if that. And
not even.
I mean, it was.
There were reports where he would get the play from the coach, and the coach would have to tell him what to look for, and he would ask guys, "What are you running on this side?" Okay, and then he would kind of just street ball it that way. No, okay, I got a post over here and a slant on this side, and then just run it from there. It was amazing.
Do you even give him the playbook at this point? I mean, honestly, like the backyard style football he's playing.
Of course you do. I mean, come on. Of course you do. I mean, it worked, but it worked against the Falcons. It's not like it worked against the Chiefs or Eagles. So, yeah, I mean, you got to give him the playbook and get him up to speed. And he didn't even know everyone's name on the team. He was just going by numbers. So he's got to beat everyone still. But, I mean, what a story. What a remarkable story that is.
It's like Baker Mayfield last year with the Rams.
Yeah.
Kind of same deal. Although Dobbs wasn't supposed to, I don't think, play at all in this game. Baker was brought in and he knew he was going to start.
Yeah.
But I think it was about the same number of days. So pretty crazy to see that in back-to-back years. But yeah, good for Dobbs. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so. Kept the Vikings in the playoff hunt too. I mean, this is a legitimate playoff, like on the edge of making the playoff team. And they're missing 3 of their best players, and then just lost another one in Akers.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we touched on it. Like their defense didn't play that great this week, but they've been pretty solid. I mean, they haven't given up a lot of points. I think they had averaged under 20 points a game so far up until this week. Maybe they're over that now, but defense is playing probably better than expected. And then if Dobbs can continue to play decent and they get Jefferson back anytime soon, I think they have an easy schedule. So who knows? I don't see them winning a playoff game just like last year.
Year, yeah.
Yeah. So pretty crazy story though.
What if I told you Josh Dobbs was a QB1 on the season?
I wouldn't believe you.
And he is. He's QB12 on the year in our a
QB1. I see. I thought you meant the QB1.
No, a QB1.
Okay.
No. So right, there's 12 players, 12 members, right? And you all have a starting quarterback. He's a QB1. He would be
like I wonder how many more games I might have won this year if I had just started him week 1 through
over Fields.
Week 1 through 9.
Yeah, I mean, it's an
a lot of people
story.
Might be asking that. Yeah.
You wouldn't think about it, but yeah, Josh Dobbs is a QB1. It's a crazy, crazy story. So good for him. I mean, when have you seen a QB performing that well get traded mid-season? It's a wild situation.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. It was a unique situation with Kyler coming back from injury there, and Dobbs, who performed really well, so he had some sort of value to make other teams want to trade for him because the Cardinals had their number 1 guy coming back. So it was a weirdly unique situation, and it'll be another decade, maybe 2, before we see it happen again.
I wonder if the Vikings initiated that, or the Arizona kind of was just shopping him around because they knew Kyler was coming back. I mean, because you saw what they have as a backup now.
Yeah.
He was atrocious. I mean,
Oh
my God.
Clayton Tune.
It was Cleveland. Yeah, that's a rough way to make your debut, but it was not good. So
trust me, when I saw that Clayton Tune was getting the start, I was like, yeehaw.
Yeah. Browns defense.
There
you go.
Here we go. And they were my number 1 scoring player, start of the week. So that it's not a coincidence that they played that well against that quarterback like that. So, but Tim, when Dicker gave him that doink and going in, we all were like, "Oh no, did he miss?" But he made it, and good for you. Awesome victory. I know Alec. I don't know what the CPU is doing right now, but the CPU is probably freaking out a little bit. Sitting under a couple games under 500 now. Not sharing.
I mean, that's what happens when you have bad karma come for you for having other people draft your team. You get these weird losses like this, even though you're one of the
It's more
top
bad
3 or
luck.
4. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
karma when you mess with the fantasy football gods. They don't like it. They come for you. It's a real thing in this league, and
Real
I'm sure
thing.
in other leagues as well. So now it'll be interesting to see. He's only one or 2 games now out of missing the playoffs completely. So the playoff race is getting closer. It's getting more and more bunched up week by week. Dominoes are falling.
I thought it was over because, I didn't think the Chargers were going to, at that point, there was like 5 minutes left. The only reason that he even got that extra point was because of that
Turnover.
I forget if it was a fumble or it was a fumble.
Fumble.
And then they returned it almost for a touchdown.
Yeah.
That was literally
Out of the
probably
2.
the only way I was going to get any more points from Dicker, because
Yeah.
I don't think if they had just gotten the ball back on offense, they wouldn't have been trying to push the ball down the field at all. So
yeah, the drive before
it's
that,
crazy.
they just handed it to Eckler 3 times, and so
Yeah,
you needed that turnover to turn into points, and
Yeah.
Eckler put it in on the next play.
Well, that
Crazy.
sequence had massive consequences for couple teams, right? Had for 2 massive games in our league. So your game, Tim, again, beating Alex in the Chat GPT, but who we have joining us in a few minutes here, Andrew starting Austin Eckler again without, I was terrified as he was leading by a point.
Yeah,
There would be another fumble. I didn't want to say it. Did you notice how no one in the league said a word about it? It was
it would
like
have been interesting.
it was dead silence. Like nobody wanted to bring in the fact that Andrew might win this game.
I tried not to even think about it. I was trying not to even acknowledge it. Yeah.
And we were watching very intently. And then when Eckler finally got punched in that second one, I was like, oh my God, he did it. So Andrew has secured his first victory of the league, and he'll be joining us to talk about that. And we're excited for him here. Excited to hear what he has to say. What do you guys think now that he's broken the schneid? And is the voodoo curse broken, or is it just here's you got one, be happy with that kind of situation?
He's got one. He's got to be happy with that. I mean, he can. I don't know, panic a little bit less now. He's well outside the playoff race. I think if we look at, looking at his matchup against Carlos, he did put up 93 points. You do got to give it to him there. But in the standings, his playoff picture is 1%. So I don't know. He's got to be looking just to not get last at this point. You can't. I don't think he's got a shot at the playoffs. His only goal now that he actually has a win is not to get last place. He's off the 0 hump at the regular season. Javi's the only one who's got a full season without a win. But now Andrew just got to focus on not getting last place. So it'll be fun to see the moves he makes, especially with our league trade deadline coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. We talked about it last week. He's not mathematically out. It's definitely not mathematically out now that he got the first win. But
he's
definitely
out.
Tough sledding. Yeah, but back to back, good scores. There was a lot of his losses. He just wasn't putting up points, and now he's putting some decent scores up. So sure, it's got to feel good, and then feel better for his chances to not get last place. At least he's got some good players on his team that if he does get stuck in the loser bowl, I would at least have a good chance of not losing it all. So,
yeah. And I mean, digging into his matchup a little bit further. So he played Carlos this week and beat him 95-83, but he had Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins, out for the year, torn Achilles. So he had to make some moves. He had Geno Smith on his bench already going into the matchup. I think he drafted Geno. He's been holding him. He wasn't content, didn't like the matchup with Geno, and actually added Stafford and Baker. So I guess his plan was maybe if Stafford was healthy, he would start Stafford there against the Packers. Not a great, defense, not a great team overall. And then Stafford was ruled out, so he plugged Baker in over Geno, which was a great move because it got him 18 points, and that ended up getting him the win. So that move right there really, really helped him. He wasn't content just having, his bench quarterback move up. Didn't like the matchup. Made the move at quarterback and gave him the victory. That's fantasy football right there. He played it well.
Played smart.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought I wouldn't have liked the matchup with Geno either, but I didn't expect that to be as bad as it was for Seattle. So,
Geno ended up with -2.
Yeah, and for the Texans Bucks game to turn into Probably the highest scoring game of the week.
Oh,
sure.
easily.
Easily.
That was
And the most exciting.
Didn't see that coming, but that was very back and forth. So yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that game. 39-37 Texans. Baker played amazing. We all, we bashed on Baker. He's had a weird career. I actually don't mind the guy. I like watching him play, but I think he sometimes gets over his skis a little bit. But I do enjoy when he has success. And I know, Tim, you have your thoughts on Baker, like, kind of a goofball and, but
I think he's I think he's a little more humble this year. I agree. He's played very well. Like the Bucks have been a lot better than I expected them to be as well. I figured they'd be a horrible offense with him playing, but he's definitely played very respectable. And you can't put it on him necessarily for losing that game. They put up 37 points. So
I mean, he scored the game-winning touchdown with 40 seconds left. It was incredible. It was a great, drive by him to get it down the field, and I was like, wow, I can't believe they did this. And then CJ Stroud.
Bad coaching.
Bad coaching, yes.
Yeah. The Bucks called the timeout instead of accepting a 10-second runoff on their last drive. And if they had just taken the 10-second runoff, they would have won.
Not had enough time.
Well, you never know, but 10 seconds less. I mean, the Texans scored. They needed every second of it. So I think there's a lot of things that probably go into it, but that was turned out to be a bad call. They left too much time.
They only had 4 seconds left to score, right? They only had 4 seconds on the clock. So yeah, you're right. They needed that 10 seconds would have made a massive difference.
They had 2 timeouts maybe still, but I forget all the details. I forget, but yeah, the extra 10 seconds definitely helped. So
yeah, but talk about CJ Stroud on the other side. I mean, Cody, I don't know if you watched the end of that drive, but he 470 yards, 5 touchdowns. Best rookie performance by a quarterback in NFL history. I mean, better than Cam Newton, better than Peyton Manning. I mean, the list is crazy what he exceeded. So incredible game for him. Well done for the young guy. We watch this season and we see these rookie quarterbacks, and Bryce Young was touted as, the next thing, but I haven't seen it. Yeah, I'm with you, Tim. You're shaking
He doesn't
your
have
head.
as much help as CJ, though. I mean, when you compare the teams outside of quarterback, the Texans definitely have a much better overall team. He's got much better weapons, and you can tell because even the Panthers know they were clearly making it known we're shopping for a number 1 receiver. We're trying to bring in a receiver to help out Bryce Young. They weren't able to get one. Just look at the weapons, weapon for weapon, and even offensive line. I mean, Bryce Young has no time back there. Stroud, he's able to move a little bit better. He has his linemen are injured, but they're coming back. His healthy O-line is going to be much stronger. I think it's too early to really tell just because of the pieces around him, and also the defense for the Texans is much better. And I think the coaching is too. It's really, he came into a better situation. It would, going back, be interesting to see the roles swap and see how it would turn out. But Stroud definitely looks better, but it's still a little too early to tell just because how weak that Panthers team is overall.
Yeah, you obviously can't give up on Young. Yeah, throwing the towel on him or anything. That doesn't look good right now, but there's a reason the Panthers. Well, I know they made that trade with the Bears, but I think they were picking in the top 5 anyway. I forget if they moved from 3 to 1 or something, but I was just concerned about him being a little too small. And he's still, he looks small and he's getting hit a lot. Hopefully, things can get better. He'll get some better protection. But Stroud, to me, just looks, miles ahead. Definitely a better situation. But yeah, and Stroud had a bad game last week, and this is how he comes back. It's like
bad couple games.
That's impressive too. Just he just doesn't seem to let anything phase him. Seems very poised, and he's throwing some darts. So
that's what I see. Is he's throwing from the pocket, right? I mean, he was a great thrower in college, but he used his legs a little bit more, obviously. But now I don't really see him running out of the pocket. He's sitting back there, slinging the ball, which is great to see for such a young guy. You typically young quarterbacks, they rely heavily on their feet. Bryce is always on the move. And you talk about the situation. Bryce actually has an amazing coach, Frank Wright, who's a great quarterbacks coach, right? So he's in a good situation. He's probably the coach you want to be with. I mean, D'Amico Ryans is a first-year head coach, and he's a defensive guy. He's not really an offensive guy. So Stroud is, doing great, in my opinion, as situations go. It was not really built for him to have a high-flying offense like they have right now. So they're more relying on their defense, but that offense is looking great. And take Dale, right? Now that he's back healthy again, you can see the difference. That guy is a lightning bolt down the field. I mean, that big catch he caught at the end of last drive and then the touchdown, I was like, man, wide open. We have a special guest in the house. So Andrew Dominguez. Welcome.
What's up?
Hey, let's all give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is the what's the banner back there?
Future Turkey Bowl champion.
Hey, yeah, 30-34, future Turkey Bowl champ. Here he is.
When no one's running this league, yeah, that might happen.
It's gonna happen this year. ESPN has me at a 1% chance of making the playoffs still.
Oh yeah, we covered it.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah. There is.
Man.
I mean, there has to be. It's gonna be. I think I have Ricky next, and then the rest is smooth sailing.
Oh, so you're calling your shot already? Ricky going down?
Actually, I called my shot to Cody a few weeks ago, and none of them have come to fruition. They've come close.
Well, I don't know about that.
Last week was a bad beat.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Last week was a bad beat.
Last week was brutal. Yeah.
Last week I called it too. I was like, I'm going to beat Javi because he's going to play the wrong player. And he could have had me beat with I think there's 2 players on his benches. I could have just it wouldn't even been close. But yeah, last week was a bad beat. This week I finally beat Carlos. So that was good. Maybe that'll break the curse that I got at the beginning of the season by staring at the voodoo doll for too long.
True. And then Andrew, in his prediction, he has himself murdering Ricky next week. That's part of his his prediction was murdering Ricky when he plays him. Carlos was a toss-up, but he's going to murder Ricky, according to his prediction from 4 weeks ago.
All right, murder Ricky.
Murder Ricky. That's going to be that's my next goal for this season, I guess. I'll honestly just be happy if I beat Ricky and I don't know. Maybe somehow Javi doesn't make the playoffs. I don't know how the loser bowl really works in this league yet, but I need to beat Javi too.
So I'll lay that out for you, Andrew.
Baby
Even
steps.
if you ended the bottom 4, that first game in the loser bowl playoffs, if you win that first game, you're automatically out of the running for hosting the barbecue.
Okay.
So that's your end goal right there, right? But that's if you ended the bottom 4. I believe you still have a chance to get in that 8th seed. You're only
No, you don't.
He's a couple games back.
He's 5 games back with 6 games to go.
No, he's got one. There's a bunch, right? We're going to talk about the standings.
We'll pull up
He's
the
got
standings.
one win.
You'll see.
Yeah, he's got one game. But if he wins the next 2 games, right? If he murders Ricky, as he's talking about, and then we'll see if he gets to number 3, and then number 3 will be like, all right, if everybody's going to start freaking out a little bit. Yeah, Andrew. So how does it feel?
It feels good. I think finally my team, obviously, Cup with Stafford out kind of sucked. But other than that, I mean, I think my team's finally where I wanted it to be at the beginning of the season, where I'm like, okay, they're putting up 90 points a game. I think that's what it's going to be for the rest of the season, to be completely honest. I think my team's going to be solid.
Just 8 weeks too late.
Huh? Yeah. Well, I knew what I was getting into with Cup, right? In the beginning of the season, and then Eckler going down on the first game. That was just, at that point I was like, okay, well, I guess I just have to wait it out. But I will say right now, if somehow by a miracle I make it to the finals, to the end, to the final game, that Washington defense is going to be my starting defense.
Oh, yeah. All right.
What a prediction.
Tim, go ahead and ask your question.
I'll be disappointed if they're not on your team at the end of the season than now. I've been
now it's at this point. The first podcast I listened to, you guys were just trolling the Washington defense, and I was like, oh, they're sticking with me the whole time.
I figured that had something to do with it because there's no other reason you could possibly still have them on your team to this point. But
yeah, that's a good point. The captain goes down with his ship, and that was the idea there.
Yeah, because if I drop them, I know they're gonna just start putting up big numbers for no reason.
Oh, that never happens.
That's a lesson Tim can learn from.
Tim has seen that twice this year. That's right. A couple times that has come to fruition. But I don't know, Andrew. They got Tim and Cody and I playing defense over there now, so I don't know how much better they're gonna be. and they had a fire sale there. So
Right.
yeah, we'll see. But
Who do they
you're
play
gonna
week 17 though? Do we know? I haven't
think
looked.
week 17. I don't think anyone. It might be the Raiders actually, and I think week 16 is the Jets.
Oh, okay. It might be the Raiders.
Week 17 is the 49ers and the Jets the week before.
49ers.
Well, see, so if you do, like, now I'm rooting for you. I hope that you can squeak in, but if you do end up in the loser bowl, you don't want to lose the first 2 weeks, right? It's whoever loses the second. If you lose the first 2 games, you're the ultimate loser. Correct?
Okay.
So
I don't know. I've never been down there. I've never been down there, so I don't know.
Loser bowl is
I think you have. It's probably been a few years.
No, never.
Cody's never
Never?
been.
Never.
Cody's
Lowest
been in
finish
town.
is 6th place.
Cody's
Suck
never-
it.
Yeah, I will.
No, loser
I
bowl
would
playoffs is only 2 rounds. So the regular playoffs is 3 rounds. Loser bowl is 2. So that's why that first, if you got to win that first game, then you automatically eliminate yourself out of barbecue contention.
So loser
It's
playoff is week 15 and 16.
Yep. So yeah, exactly. So no, week 17 is the 15 and 16 is the loser bowl playoff. So Andrew's right. If he's in that bottom game, that loser bowl championship game at week 16, he's got the Jets playing the Commanders. That's actually a decent matchup for it. That we just saw what Zach Wilson did tonight.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And remind us, Manny, so in our league, in the Turkey Bowl, once we hit the playoffs, if you're the home team, if you're the higher seed, 1 through 4, you get a little 2-point home field advantage. Do you get that if you're in the loser bowl as well? If you're that higher seed in the loser bowl playoffs, do you get the 2-point advantage?
You do, but it's manually augmented. That we make even across the board. It only affects 1 through 8 seeding.
Oh, okay. So there's no home field advantage for those bottom 4 teams in that.
Yeah,
Okay. Because some of these matchups, especially coming down to it, we had a tie. We had, a game come down to 1 point. That home field advantage could be huge when it comes to the loser bowl.
It is. These games are starting to get tighter and tighter as we've seen.
Are.
Cody, you only won by a handful of points.
Good handful.
Tim won with the tie today.
And the tiebreaker.
Yeah, Rob Kahuna only won by 4 points. So very, very close game. So
yeah.
Games are getting very, very tight. But back to Andrew. Well, we have him here, and thank you for joining. So your first year in the league, you've kind of you saw how the draft process went. You're playing with guys who obviously have been playing a long time now. We're doing a damn fantasy football podcast about this and talking about our league. What have you noticed different from this league as opposed to other leagues and other years that you played in fantasy football?
Oh, there's so many different things. Like, it was like a steep learning curve. First off, when I was in the draft, I didn't realize how short the bench was. So I was assuming that we had like a bigger bench. So when I was picking up my last 4 players, I was like, okay, let me look for get an early pick in, but really that didn't do me any help. I forgot who I picked, but I was like, dang, I didn't realize the draft's already over. Between that and the fumbles are pretty damaging, I think, in this league too. Fumbles are pretty big.
Sacks also.
Yeah, and I was wondering why you guys were so big before, running backs go quick in this league, which I guess this year they didn't go as quick as normal, but I understand now, completely. So yeah, it's a big learning curve. It's different, yeah, because exactly, I've learned a lot from this league, I think. So if I don't win this year in this league, next year I'll probably kill it in my other leagues just based off of the information.
It's true. Being in this league alone and being with all these moves and all these other players does help you in your other leagues outside of this, and you do become a better fantasy player in those other leagues, especially.
Right. Yeah. And I have noticed though that people have been picking on me by sending me crappy trades. I'm like, dude,
Manny, you need to stop, Manny.
That's not new. That has nothing to do with you being a new guy. That's just
okay. I was just who do they think I am? I'm like, no, I'm not going to accept this.
No, Mama's trades are part of the business here.
As long as you don't accept them, because once you do, then it's just going to be like vultures. They're just going to keep coming after you with worse and worse trade offers once they know they can get you. So but.
Just keep it off and moving along,
But that's why we've been, kind of giving you a hard time about keeping the Commanders' defense, because our benches are so short. You can't, from our perspective, you can't really afford to keep, a second defense. But hey,
And I mean, if you were 8-1, 7-2, then yeah, we wouldn't be hounding on you for keeping the Washington defense, but you were 0-8. So I mean, we were trying to help you out, man. We were on your side.
Yeah, what was that about 4 weeks ago? We were telling like, what's going on here, man? Like, please, yeah, we were hurting for you, Andrew. But
I think it was like week 3 even. You guys were like, you need to drop the defense, like get rid of them.
But no, you got your W. We're happy for you. We all hoped it was coming. I haven't heard from Carlos all night, so I'm sure he's very displeased that you were the one to get your. You got your first victory against him.
What was it? The Thursday night game? Is that when he put up all those points? Or
yeah, did Stroud go off for 40 on Sunday?
That was yesterday. Yeah, okay, that was yesterday. Yeah.
I mean, that was more than half his points there. Yeah. So
I know. As soon as I saw that too, because I was like, I wasn't at home, watching the games, and I looked at the score and I was like, oh man, like I thought I had this week, and luckily all his other players suck though. So
yeah. See, we talked about CJ Stroud having a monster weekend. If typically we see that kind of performance go up against us, we're throwing our hands up like, nope, we lost this week. But the rest of the team, laid an egg, and you had consistency across the board. So nice job.
And I think we all picked you to lose last week, so shame on us.
Yeah,
but maybe it was like a
reverse
curse kind of thing. Like
honestly,
we all picked you to lose.
I think it is. I think it's reverse curse. And Vegas odds definitely on me. You guys would have been like normally coming up with some money, but
so let me ask you this, Andrew. You got hit with the voodoo on draft day, right? The voodoo doll was in front of you. You looked at it, you laughed at it, you kind of like gave it a smirk. You were playing with it a little bit. We told you don't touch it. Now Carlos was the one who brought it, and now that you beat him, did you break the curse? Do you feel like it's over?
That's what I feel like. I really feel like, okay, you know what? This is like my first win coming against Carlos. I was like, you know what? This might just be the curse that I might have to draft from home next year because man, that thing's real.
Oh no! We're doing live draft this year. There's no more chat GPTs. There's no more AI bots. No, we're not doing any of that stuff anymore.
In person, baby.
Yeah, that's fair. Are we doing it old school? What? Where we like write our players' names on the board, or
we'll see when we get to the voting stage.
Yeah. We still have people who are opposed to it because they think it takes too long. But I would love a live draft. Have the names up there. Select your. Pull the placard and put it on under your team name. That would be great because it's an all-day event. It's fun, but we definitely have people who are wanting to move as fast as, like you said, our draft time is only 1 minute, 30 seconds per pick. It's only 5 bench spots. Our draft goes very, very quick. It's done in under an hour. So
I'm happy to join via Zoom.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was about to say, are we going to do it in Japan or?
Yeah. No, Javi will be, we'll get it. Make sure he's live streaming it.
Yeah.
So, but Andrew, congratulations.
Yep. Before you go, Andrew, you're into making predictions. You're calling your shot. Who do you have as this year's Turkey Bowl? Looking at the teams, loser, and who do you have as the champ?
Ooh, that's a good point. I mean, obviously, I have to vote myself as the champ, but if I have to give a second place, I honestly think Cody might take it, and then. Which is annoying to me because I walk into this league and I see like 3-time Turkey Bowl champ, and I'm
how
like,
much did he pay to say that?
I'm like, you mean a time and a half or whatever we ended up talking it up to. And then the loser, I think it's going to be Ricky because he used up his luck coming back over here to California. Lucky him, but I think that's where his luck stops.
Wow, so he's going to move to California and then have to host the barbecue. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's like genius. I think that's what it is. I think the universe works like that.
Wow. Okay. Wow. There you have it.
Hey, my wife would love that. She's like, you better not end in the bottom 4. I'm like, I'm not. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. I hear it all the time. Or actually, Sierra's just like, you suck so bad. Why are you so bad at this game? And I'm like, it's not my fault. It's not my fault.
Kind of, a little bit.
But also, if I do come in last, I'm excited to buy the carne asada because I have a butcher that's like makes the carne asada really good. So
there you go. You'll have to give Ricky your butcher recommendation.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. All right. Well,
Andrew, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Good luck on the rest of the season. We hope you get that first W in the Loser Bowl. So second, right? Take second, and we'll see what happens. And
I'm coming in first though, so we'll see. It's going to be a run all the way to the championship.
A run to the championship. All right. All right. You got to win the next 4. All right, man. Later on. Have a good one.
Later.
There we have it.
There we have it.
from last place himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love having our little drop-ins like that. Tim, how do you feel about his prediction?
Which one? He made several. His championship prediction.
He's making his run starting tonight.
I'll take second place.
I mean, I guess never say never, but that's the odds are not with him. So
we'll see what ESPN's percentage is at after this week. But yeah,
He might climb all the way up to 3 or 4%.
He definitely has to win out. I mean, that's So
there's 5 games left, and he's 1-8.
We'll see. I guess maybe he's got at least 4 out of the next 5, but realistically, probably all 5.
He's going to have to win all 5, I believe. Yeah, because the guys that are in 8th place already have 4 wins, so he'd have to have all 3 of them lose out essentially, which I think might not happen. There's maybe just one small sliver of hope for him.
So let's talk
points.
Let's talk about that. A couple weeks ago we said who would drop in and out. I said Angel was the team that I was worried about. And Angel's, so that goes into my matchup for this week. I played Angel. He's on a 5-game skid now, right? Since you called him being the team that you liked to, go through, he hasn't won a game since. He texted me over the weekend. He's like, "Are we playing soccer this week?" I was like, "No, man." He's like, "I don't want to watch fantasy football because you guys ruined my team." Like, whoa. So I was like, his team is struggling big time right now. I don't know what he's gonna do to change his situation. Jefferson, has there been any word on Jefferson coming back? I don't know.
To my knowledge, not that I've heard. Even tonight on the game, they were saying maybe if he comes back sooner than later, so they don't know.
They don't even know. So yeah, I mean, he made that move for Derrick Henry, but Lamar has been up and down. Even though Baltimore whooped up on the Seahawks this weekend, it was the running game. It wasn't Lamar. It was,
I think he even came out early in the 4th quarter with slight injury, but also garbage time, and so Hundley was the one who threw a touchdown. But yeah, it was a huge running game for them.
Yeah, they've just been beating teams down, and he's just not somehow not really a part of it. I mean, in real life, I'm sure he is, but as far as fantasy, he's not putting up a lot of points. So they need to get some closer games. That's when he usually puts up the better fantasy stats, at least. So pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a couple of weeks ago when Rob was on the podcast about banking those wins, and Angel went 4-0. He's lost the next 5 in a row, and he's still in 7th place the way we have it in the standings. So he's still in the playoff hunt, losing 5 in a row, which is pretty remarkable. But it goes to the advantage you can get if you stack those wins. But looking at his team, unless Jefferson comes back pretty soon, he's really relying on some like Roshan Johnson, Puka, who doesn't have Stafford throwing to him anymore, so he's not the same guy he was before. And then, as Manny mentioned, Lamar is just so up and down. And now that he's running a little bit more, it seemed like he got hurt in this game, and they pulled him for that 4th quarter because they were up by so much. So a lot of question marks going on there. But I think he still has enough juice to make the playoffs, especially if he can get Jefferson back a little bit earlier. I could see him making the playoffs. I don't know how far he'll go, but I could see him staying out of that bottom 4.
Yeah, he can stay out of there. What do you?
Yeah, with Marquise Brown, depending on how Kyler Murray is when he comes back, it sounds like he's going to play next week.
Yeah,
maybe that'll give him a lift. But yeah, his receivers they look so good. Week 1, first couple weeks, and they've just been letting them down week after week ever since. It seems like.
Yeah.
So he is playing ChatGPT next week. So are you all rooting for Angel to get that dub?
Oh, 100%. You got to root against Alex at this point. I mean, I think we have been for a while.
Mahomes, he's got. I looked at Alex's next week. The Chiefs are on a bye, so he won't have Mahomes, Pacheco. He won't have Swift. He won't have Waddle. More than half his team is on the bye next week, so I don't even know who he's going to field. But
yeah, so getting that dub through this week was super important for him. Yeah, so he could drop 3 games under 500. Yeah,
I couldn't believe. I was happy I didn't have to go up against McCaffrey this week, and then I looked at his team next week, and I was like, oh my god,
Wow.
he's got nobody to even play. So we'll see what he does, but.
Yeah, Alex hasn't made too many moves in the league, so it'll be interesting to see how he handles going into this, his own personal bipocalypse.
He spent 0 fab. Yeah. He has not spent $1. So
yeah.
That,
I mean, it's pretty remarkable. But
that does bring, a question and kind of philosophy into this, right? If you look at how many transactions there have been, how much money's been spent. Yeah, we see Alex has really spent no money at all. We've seen Ricky, who spent a lot of money.
Ricky has spent like $15.
$15. He's made a lot of moves, I should say. He's made a lot of moves, not spent a lot of money. I've probably done the most mix of moves and money.
It's either you or Tim.
Yeah, and for me, it always goes
the most fab for sure. Yeah,
it goes to the whole notion that, my philosophy is never give up. Never give up. If you stay active and you play the game and you really are trying to make moves to better your team, if you start 1-4, 1-5, don't give up. And Ricky's actually a prime example of this, right? Ricky's team was pretty gosh damn awful when this season started. But if you look at his roster now, it's pretty stout. I'm like, Joe Burrow is finally coming back into form. And Joe Burrow's moved to 3 different managers, right? Started with Carlos drafted him. Cody picked him up. When you picked him up, I was like, oh no, Cody got him. Oh no.
Yeah.
And then, but Cody, and you dropped him because of bye week situations or whatnot. And then Ricky swooped up on him. And it's actually, paid off this week for him to get that big win against Romo. But I can see his team, when you're solidified there at the quarterback position, it just really helps your team. So I'm proud of Ricky, right? He's made 16 moves on the year. I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, but his fab spend, you're right, Cody, is very low. In relation, you look at Rob, who's the lowest person who's made the moves? Alex, like you said. Alex has only made 3 moves, and he's sitting there at 5th place, could potentially drop down to that 7th or 8th place next week, right? But teams like myself, 32 moves. I got the most moves. Cody, you have 19, right? You're almost at the 20 spot. Tim, you're at 21, right? So when you have activity and you have those willing to make adjustments and just drop players, I think we get so tied up in I got to hold on to this guy because I don't know what he's going to be. He could potential, right? Sometimes you just got to cut bait, move on, and then shoot your shot for a week, right? If you look at this as every week is a season, that's how you got to play it. And what's your guys' philosophy on that? Do you think you bail out on the season and just say forget it, or do you keep grinding and try and grind like Andrew and Ricky and try to stack up those W's and see if you get a chance? How do you guys play
it? In this league, I don't want to have the sparkly license plate frame on my car or anything like that. So, and the
hit to the wallet with the barbecue and the hosting.
Yeah, I got lucky because the year I lost, we talked about it was the COVID year that I came in last place, so didn't have to host a barbecue. I kind of got lucky there. But otherwise, it's very shameful to have that trophy. So, you got to keep trying. At least you can get a little bit money back by hitting the weekly high score here and there, even if you're not going to win it all. But some of the moves that like with me, I've kind of had to make some moves. Alex, you could argue he hasn't, and that's why he hasn't. Mm-hmm. He's had, he's got a pretty good team where he doesn't really have to make a lot of lineup decisions every week, but. I've had, some injuries, some bad draft picks, so I've had to make moves. I haven't really had much choice. So I think it just depends on what you've got. And, Alex has had a lot of points scored against him, but he's scored a lot of points. So I don't blame him for not spending any fab yet, but I wish I didn't have to spend so much up to this point. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Tim. I mean, you have to play it out, especially in this fab setting. You can spend, look at what Ricky's doing. He spent $5, it looks like, year to date. And he's put together, pretty decent roster, picking up Burrow. He had Purdy before that, who was scoring in points. So he's making moves kind of on the fringes. The Chargers defense this week, he ended up not needing them. But, going against 90% of the league, he would have ended up winning thanks to that move right there. It's looking at his roster, he's made the most trades in the league as well. He's made 3 trades. I think there's been 3 trades in the league, and he's been a part of all 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just a prime example of, even if you're down, you're not out. Just keep making moves. If you don't want to spend money, you can still do it on the fringes. Look for those values. He picked up Burrow on Burrow's bye week, so he was able to get him for free. Had he waited another couple days, it would have been a price competition. He might have lost out on him. That could really help his season. So you got to stay active, stay vigilant, look at the waiver wire, and keep making those moves, just because the difference between 8th and 9th place is razor thin, but the cost difference could be huge.
Yeah. Well, and like the decision he made this week, he's got Bills defense. They're a top 3 defense in fantasy right now. But what did he do? He said, no, I don't like the matchup. I'm going to pick up the Chargers defense against the Jets tonight on Monday Night Football. Got him 33 points. So he's making those small decisions. Now, he did lose Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert broke his wrist or his arm on Sunday. On Sunday. So he's out for they're not putting him on IR, which I find it surprising, but he's going to be out for a few weeks. He's going to have a quick surgery. So maybe just a small break. But so we'll have, we talk about the tight end landscape all the time being a wasteland. So he'll have to make some decisions there. But, again, Ricky, you're welcome. Raheem Mostert and Mike Evans still producing for you. Yeah, I just want to say
out there on the waiver wire.
Cole commits.
So,
If
you want to ride that roller coaster,
hop on.
I just, Ricky, when you talk about a brother who really cares about you, I just want you to think about that trade. Who's put you in position to get these W's. So, but no, so good job on Ricky. Big win beating Romo. Romo took me to the house last week, so it was nice to see Ricky whoop up on him.
Ricky really. I mean, looking at the final score, he really laid the smackdown on him. When you look at Romo's team, though, this was Romo's personal bipocalypse. He's missing ETN, he's missing Javonte, he's missing Trevor Lawrence, and his Jaguars defense. I mean, that's 4, and plus his Damian Pierce running back, who hasn't been effective this year, was out. So he's got 5 guys that are normally starters for him that are out. So I don't think going into it, I don't think Romo was expecting a win. But as we were just talking before, you've got to make those moves. Romo didn't just stay put. He didn't keep all 4 of his guys in the lineup and just take the L on purpose. He made a shot, tried going for it, ended up not working out for him. But I think he wasn't really expecting the win anyway. So yeah, Ricky still laid the smackdown, but I don't think Romo's too upset about this matchup.
No. He's had Tank Dell out there, right? He had a shot. He took a dart throw, and he did fine. Yeah. So that was a good matchup there. Cody, we can talk about your matchup. You against Javi. This was probably a one that everybody was watching based off of the small little ride we've had for the 2023 season. And so tell us how you felt watching that Dallas game, right, against Philly, and watching Dak and CD go off. Did you feel like, oh crap, Javi had it, or?
Yeah. I can tell you right now, yes. Going in, I felt pretty good. Looking at the matchups, felt pretty strong. Ramondre broke off like a 65-yarder and ended up with 20-plus points, and it's like, okay, that's all I needed. Here we go. And then Josh Downs gets hurt and only ends up with 1 point. And so going into the Cowboy-Eagles game, it was like, okay, I feel good. Eagles traditionally have a good defense. Plus, the Cowboys in a prime spot are going to just flub. And that second half, and especially that fourth quarter, Dak only has had his eyes on CD, and I don't know what happened. The Eagles defense couldn't find him out there. He was wide open so often. Dak was throwing his way. I think he ended up with 16 or 17 targets, and CD was just shredding him. And it came down. Tony Pollard got a rushing touchdown. Oh wait, they called it back because an offensive lineman didn't report as eligible. So Dak gets to throw a touchdown to Ferguson. So even Dak was getting more points there. And going into that game and leaving that game, you saw in the group chat, CeeDee Lamb caught a 30-yard pass with no time on the clock, tackled at the 2. On review, it was a fumble. All right, count the fumble. It's -3 points in our league. Let's make sure it's in the stat line. I want to make sure it's there because that's how close I felt like it was going to be. And then Josh Allen going against the Bengals defense. I didn't feel great, especially with how the Bengals have been playing lately. He got an early rushing touchdown, which helped, and then a couple sacks. Typical Josh Allen interception. kind of hovering there right along the border. But then the fourth quarter, Josh Allen had a decent fourth quarter that really saved me and put me over the top and ended up getting me the weekly winnings. So this is my third time first place weekly winnings in the money. But yeah, I definitely have a little more respect for Javi and Javi's team. Kind of looking a little further into it, he had the Colts defense that he started over the Cowboys defense. So he's holding 2 defenses the past 4 weeks. He cut the Colts defense, picked up the Texans, which didn't really make sense considering the Colts were going against Bryce Young, who we just were talking about that we're not impressed with.
That's the matchup I would have. He would have crushed.
They ended up with 27. So he would have been the weekly winner. He would have beaten me, his nemesis, the other 3-time champ. But yeah, he made the foolish decision to make the play for the Texans D. And go against the Bucks with Evans and Godwin, and Baker's been decent, so it didn't really make sense. If he would have just stayed pat with the Cowboys defense, it would have, I don't know, they've been on his bench 5 or 6 weeks in a row, which is kind of questionable to me, but they haven't performed too well. But I'm just happy to leave this matchup with the win and the weekly winnings actually, and get money out of it. So but yeah, I was impressed by Javi's team overall, have a little more respect for him, but happy to come away with the victory. And I'm just waiting for Rob to stumble so I can take over that top spot.
Jim, you got like you got something to add into there.
No, I think he pretty well covered it. I mean, third highest score of the year so far. So, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, I should have picked up the Colts defense too. I picked up one of the worst defenses of the week, it turned out. So that almost lost me my matchup right there. But yeah, that was if you have, when you have Josh Allen, he's almost always gonna put up numbers. He's had, the Jets game week 1, I think it was obviously atrocious, but more often than not, he's gonna have, what do you have, 25 this week, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he's averaging, I think, 23 per game, even including that Jets week 1, where that was my only loss on the year, and I think he ended up with 4 points. So my team might just kind of go as Josh Allen goes, but if he keeps putting up 25 to 30 points, maybe that could keep me rolling.
Well, I'm heavily invested in him doing that because I've got Diggs and Kincaid now. I'm riding him.
Yeah.
So Kincaid lost that crazy fumble. So
that was
I had 2 guys lose a fumble this week, so that's -6 right there. But
brutal.
So as soon as that fumble, like, I didn't even hit the ground yet, Cody's texting me, that better be -3. Like, I was like, how hasn't he hit the ground yet? I was like,
it didn't have a great chance of him getting in, but if he had somehow found a way to get in, I mean, that's was it a lost fumble? I forget.
Yeah, it was a lost fumble.
Yeah, Eagles ended up just picking it up.
A 9-point swing right there if he somehow scored instead of losing that. So it's just crazy how close Dallas got to scoring so many times, and just that was a crazy game.
So you're right, Cody. I seen that Pollard touchdown get called back. That annoyed me, but luckily I had Ferguson who caught that touchdown. Yeah. I'm happy. I've got Jake now. Jake Ferguson seems like a big part of the offense, the second receiver behind CD. But you're right. CD's averaging 15, 16 targets a game. He was 11 for 16 in this game and 130 yards. So he was money. He was great. I don't see that stopping. What's really concerning about this for Javi's, and it's concerning for us and people who play against him. Dak Prescott's schedule for next 5 weeks: Giants, Carolina, Washington, Seattle, and then Philly. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Dak is about to blow up. That is
especially CD as well, having that combo there, and their defense could go off on those teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
that's the thing. It could go the other way too. Some of those teams are so bad that Dak might not have to do anything.
I hope that's the reality, because that being the Tony Pollard manager, I hope that's the case.
But he still has that Dallas defense to kind of help that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if he's
supplement that,
if he's starting all of them, the defense and Dak and CD, then there's going to be points coming from at least 1 or 2 of them. So
they're gonna have to go against Danny, not DeVito, next week, right? For the Giants?
For the Giants, because Daniel Jones is out with the ACL, and Tyrod Taylor has a chest injury.
Tommy DeVito,
Tommy DeVito from Jersey.
Yeah.
You just know when you hear that name, he's got to be from Jersey.
He's
So.
got to be, local
Yeah.
kid. Yeah, he definitely. I was like, really, the Giants would get a local kid to kind of be in there and just have an Italian name. That's ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
it's good. Bad sledding for the Giants.
Yeah, it's tough. And Javi has Saquon. It's going to be tough for Saquon to find running room back there when you're on your third string quarterback, a dude named Tommy DeVito. It's going to be hard enough. It's going to be tough. But Aaron Jones, the coach was like, we're going to release Aaron Jones. We're going to free him. We're going to give him workload. And he didn't shine, but he had a good day. Got the touchdown, I believe, and ended up with 12 points. And so respectable day there. So Javi's team looking forward, as you were pointing out the schedule. Things could be looking up. If it's an easy schedule, you got to hope he doesn't peak too soon because you really want to peak in the playoffs. So we'll see. He could make a little run here, but if it continues, it's going to be what's important.
Well, Dallas does have a game in Buffalo in week 16, I believe, or week 15.
15.
So,
Okay.
Week 1 of the playoffs.
That's going to be a cold weather game. It's going to be in Buffalo, so that will definitely be one to watch. But his defense again might do well there, but who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully Josh Allen's healthy and that game could be a shootout or it could be a tie game. Who knows at this point? But yeah, Javi's next handful of games are very advantageous for him. So people going up against him, tread lightly. It's going to be a rough sledding against Javi. He got a good game out of Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor sees he back. It looks like they're stopping this Zach Moss experience now, and he's starting to get the workload. And we thought it would take about 3 to 4 weeks for him to get acclimated back into the team, and so that's trending in the right direction. So
and after this week he's sitting in 5th place thanks to a tiebreaker with Tim. I think one-ups him on the tiebreaker, so Tim's in 4th, Javi's in 5th. But I still don't see, even though he's only 2 games technically out of 9th place, I don't see any way his team actually misses the playoffs. This is different than Angel's team. His team's too strong. I see him solidly in the playoffs.
Yeah, even with Saquon having limited opportunity, he's still going to put up double-digit fantasy points, and that's money for anyone just because of the volume. So
with the matchups too. I mean, those easy matchups over the next few weeks should guarantee him a decent amount of points right there. So
yeah, you would think so.
I just checked. I don't have to play him at least, so that's good.
So I don't have to play him again.
I got it out of the way earlier.
So. Got it out of the way. Nice. Lucky you. Yeah. Let's talk about the next matchup here is where is Big Kahuna versus
Edgar.
Oh man, okay. This was a lot closer than I anticipated it to be. I thought Rob would win the game. Because Jalen Hurts has been amazing this year, right? Jalen Hurts was amazing for me last year. Even though again we talked about he's not a great NFL quarterback, he's not like throwing darts all over the yard. He's getting those push touchdowns. It's happening. The brotherly shove. He's getting that rushing yardage. So he's, a modern day version of Cam Newton, but slightly better, and he's in a better offensive. I would say he's better than Cam Newton. You wouldn't say he's better than
man. Cam Newton was so good. MVP. I think Cam Newton throws a little bit better ball than Hurts as well. Hurts, fantasy wise, Hurts is great because of these tush pushes. Cam Newton didn't need any of that. Cam Newton from the 8 was just QB draw and then would get in the end zone himself.
I would agree with you, but AJ Brown makes that a fallacy because AJ Brown catches everything thrown his way. So
if you put Cam Newton in this Eagles offense, it would be on fire. Give him AJ Brown, it would be a little different story, I think. But they're both close. I would just favor Cam Newton. I think between Hurts and Newton, I would take Cam. You're looking at his weapons. He's got Devontae Smith, Goddard, Swift in the backfield. You even mentioned AJ Brown.
Right.
That really helps him out. Cam, for a lot of that, did not have those weapons at all.
I'm trying to remember.
It was like Kelvin Benjamin, an old Steve Smith early on.
He had one of the greatest He had one of the greatest tight ends, Olsen.
Okay.
Yeah, Olsen was great.
He was good, but yeah, that's it.
How many offenses revolve around your tight end usage?
Cam in his prime was, and his prime was not very long. His career I think got cut pretty short, but he was unstoppable. In real life and fantasy, he was phenomenal. But nothing wrong with Hurts. It's just I think he's in a much better situation than Cam really ever had. Cam lifted the Panthers out of the gutter. Now look where they've been since he's been gone. You know, they've been terrible. So
floundering.
Yeah.
I will say that Super Bowl year run when they lost to Denver was magical. He was far and away the best player in the league that year.
That was his MVP year, I think, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, it was. I forget how many touchdowns he accounted for that year. It's yeah. So I never thought he was the greatest passer, but he was good enough to make up for it, and with his legs, and he was so hard to tackle. He was huge. He was like Big Ben size, but could actually run.
Yeah. And that's why I comp Jalen Hurts him. I mean, he's big, athletic, strong. I mean, he on the tush push, at the Bradley shove, he never gets pushed backwards ever. It's always forward, always. He's strong. So
a lot of that's his offensive line getting a good push from the beginning.
Oh yeah, Kelsey at center is going to always help you there, of course. But I mean, the play works. Everybody knows it's coming. No one can stop it.
Yeah, I mean, really, from the beginning, instead of 1st and 10, they're really playing with like 1st and 9, 1st and 8, because if they just get to that 8 or 9 yard mark, it's just tush push. Even on 4th down, it's a first
down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it seems like if pretty much anywhere on the field, if they've got 2 yards or less to go, they're going to probably go for it.
Yeah,
unless it's a really critical situation, they're really backed up. But otherwise, it's coming, and it's kind of nauseating. But
knowing what's coming,
at the same time, nobody can stop it at all. Nobody's gotten even close to stopping it. They usually get 4 or 5 yards out of it.
They did it on their 1 yard line, their own 1 yard line this game, to get out of the end zone. that was incredible.
It works. Right. I mean, yeah. Most people, especially in the fantasy community, don't really like it. A lot of people hate it. Rob's someone who loves it because it's really benefiting his team. He's got Jalen Hurts. I believe Allen is number 1 and Hurts is number 2 on the QB of the year. Fantasy points on the year. Yeah, so
that is correct.
Yeah, Rob's the beneficiary of the tush push. He's also the beneficiary of the Gus bus going to town, getting multiple touchdowns. Even if the yardage isn't there, the touchdowns have been lately. How do you feel about that Gus move, Tim? All right, Manny.
I heard some crickets.
So happy. I'm so happy that I dropped him right before his
explosion
influx of touchdowns and goal line carries. So yeah, it makes me sick. I paid $39 for him in Fab. Nobody else even bid on him back then, because this was the Gus that I expected back in week 2. And so shame on me for giving up on him too early, but I think we saw Keaton Mitchell had his first game, looked a little bit like Achan out there.
He looked amazing.
He looked good. So Justice Hill, some good yardage too. Justice Hill looked good. It could be a 3-down committee there, 3 backfield split.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I still see a lot of fat being spent on Keaton Mitchell this week. Cody, I know you had him. I don't know exactly when you dropped him. Was it 2?
I had him for about 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely see somebody dropping. It's one of the bottom 4 guys dropping some fab on him for sure.
I would think so. Definitely not Ricky, but I'm sure one of the other 3 might.
Maybe Alex will finally spend $1 or 2.
Could be.
I mean, he's going to need to this week, I think. Yeah. So
that's a good.
I actually think it's going to be Angel. Angel's desperate need for running backs. I think Angel's going to spend up high.
That's a good call.
Yeah, they do play the Browns though, so it's not a great matchup, but it's still
Yeah.
He looked pretty good. I think he got a lot of his work in garbage time, but still, he had 138 yards on 5 carries, or I don't know how many, 8 carries, single-digit carries, I'm pretty sure. So
just when you see players that can hit home runs like he did on that one run where he bringed it to the left and the counter to the left, like that's what you're looking for. Like, that one play changes your entire week, changes the outcome, right? So those are the type of players you look for when you're trying to land on someone who's going to give you a boost. So,
and that's the only thing that will make me feel better about dropping the Gus bus, is if his run of touchdowns is finally over and it's more of a split, or maybe Keaton Mitchell takes over. But still feel pretty sick to my stomach about that, because I probably would have had 1 or 2 more wins probably right now. But what are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, and Rob's team is he got 94 points, and he had Kelsey get him, pretty much nothing. Gabe Davis put up a 0. Yeah. Thielen, getting only 3. So Rashad White completely went off, which is, you can't expect much of that to keep happening. But that game was wild and high scoring and crazy. He's going to have James Conner coming back. Rob is in first place and probably feeling really good about his team. Outside of just being in first. I mean, he's got Montgomery, who might be back from injury, hopefully splitting time with Gibbs. But yeah, Rob's team's looking pretty strong here. Rob's team is fierce. Edgar put up 90 and unfortunately got the loss, the bad luck loser of the week. Our champion, our leader, Edgar, dropping down. I think he's 3-6 now, so he's down to 11th place. So these are two teams heading in completely different directions here. What do you guys think of this matchup?
Yeah, the Edgar had a good score. It's hard for me to, talk about this having been the lowest winning score of the week. He would have beaten me, but he had a decent score. It's just the Saints. We kind of talked about it earlier. He started 3 Saints this week.
Yeah.
With Taysom Hill, which was a good pickup.
And 3 Raiders.
Josh Jacobs had a good game. Tua let him down. But, the Chiefs defense has been playing surprisingly well this year. So they really limited the Dolphins. But, it's just too many players on 2 teams.
Yeah.
His team, like we talked about Javi, how he's kind of riding the Cowboys. Edgar is riding the Saints and Raiders. Completely, basically. So
yeah, oversaturation is bad. Exactly.
Yeah.
He did have, Waller just went on IR, which forced him to get a new tight end. So Taysom Hill, who knows? Maybe if this is going to be the new norm for Hill to be doing it all, kind of like he has been the last couple of weeks, but.
I think the last 4 weeks he's tight end number 1 above Kelsey. The last 4 weeks,
he's doing a little bit of everything. So, that helps. But just having Michael Thomas and Olave as well is not super helpful. So,
well, you're splitting your touches at that point, right? There's only so many. Carr's going to throw the ball 30 times a game, so you're looking at 6 or 7 opportunities for each one. I mean, that ball's going to get spread around and. Taysom, they're not even.
Carr's not even throw that much. Of those.
Yeah, and Carr's not even throw that much because Taysom Hill is going to come in for 10 plays at quarterback and take those opportunities. I told you guys that stat earlier. Taysom Hill's the first player in a long time, and only the 5th player in NFL history to have 10 throwing touchdowns, 10 rushing, 10 receiving. So pretty incredible what he's doing. And Edgar spent $25 on him. It's a great spend.
It's a good move, especially with Waller being out.
Oh yeah, $16 out of 16 points from a tight end is money, right? Well, we said we love that. So yeah, you expect him to win with making a move like that and getting that much production out of a tight end, but again, he's getting nothing from Devontae. He's getting these up and down games from Michael Thomas. It's too many gooses or only like tapping out at 5 or 6 points. I would have been done with Michael Thomas weeks ago.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
In his defense, it does seem like the coaching change in Las Vegas has really helped boost that Raiders team. So the defense got him 19, and they're giving the ball to Jacobs over and over again. Adams just happened to be the guy on the outside. Myers got the touchdown. It was a rushing touchdown. But, I mean, Pierce came out and said, we're going to feed the ball to Jacobs. We're going to feed it to Adams. Maybe going forward, it'll kind of look a little bit better than it has been with no McDaniels. What do you guys think? They looked better this week, but –
they're playing the Giants.
I know.
Yeah, it's like I watched that video of their locker room celebration. It's like, kind of cringy. Just like you guys just beat the Giants and Tommy DeVito. I think
part of that was also we got the old coach out. The Wicked Witch is gone. Let's celebrate that we got a victory. Look at us.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like maybe they're hoping McDaniels watches that.
Yeah,
because you get the sense that. Just from what you're hearing now, that a lot of players didn't like him. So it was probably a combination of getting a win, a big win. They 30-6. So, any win's good, but it's just like do it again next week, and don't act like you just won the Super Bowl. But I think it's good for Jacobs for sure. The coaching change. I don't know, the coaching change and the quarterback change for Adams. I'm not sure how good it's going to be. I don't know how good that quarterback is, but for Jacobs, it should be definitely good.
Yeah.
Devontae's going to have Sauce Gardner shadowing him next week. So I don't project too big of a game from Devontae. The Jets could go into Las Vegas next week. Actually, yeah, it's in Las Vegas, and they could win that game. I could see the Jets doing what they do, playing good defense, and going up against a rookie quarterback and playing well against them. That defense is that good, right? The Raiders defense is obviously going to have a good game against Zach Wilson, but I don't see the Jets getting trounced on like they did tonight. So
it'll be a ground and pound game. I think Breece Hall didn't really do much against the Chargers, who suddenly have a pretty good run defense this year, but the Raiders do not have a good run defense. I mean, even Barkley last week had a pretty decent game considering the circumstance. I think he still had 90 yards. So I think Breece Hall will probably have a big game next week, and they won't have to rely on Zach Wilson so much. But we'll see. Should be an interesting matchup just with that rookie quarterback against the Jets defense.
Yep. And then the following 2 weeks are at Miami and KC. So Raiders will be coming back to reality.
It seems that way.
Very quickly.
And you brought up a good point. So you do have Devontae Adams going up against Sauce Gardner in that Jets defense. It looks like Edgar has no other options. His only receivers are Michael Thomas, Adams, and Olave. But would you actually look to bench Adams in that matchup if you're looking at that matchup and play maybe a different running back instead or another receiver? Or is Adams, you drafted in the second round, start him every single week, even with the borderline backup QB and a tough matchup? How do you approach that?
Great question. I don't like the Adams play. I don't even like the Michael Thomas play. I mean, if I was Edgar, I definitely look at my bench and see what I have. But there's some wide receivers on the wire. Jahan Dotson's out there. Rondell Moore's out there who could be potentially a big play with Murray coming back. Michael Gallup, I don't like too much. DJ Chark, he had a big game this week. He's someone I would look at as well. So there's some guys, Jackson, JSN, he's starting to get a lot more looks. I would take a look at that.
So those guys you would start over Adams because of the matchup?
Depending on the matchups, like especially JSN, Jackson, they're playing Washington next week. Washington, their defense is, we've just talked about it with Andrew, right?
Yeah.
Anybody playing against that, I like that matchup way more than I do. And Seattle's after getting whooped on the way they did by Baltimore, they're going to want to have a good bounce back game. So I'd start him over both those guys right now. I just don't like the matchup with Sauce covering. I mean, look at Keenan Allen, one of the best receivers this season in football, and he got kind of shut down tonight. So
he got 8 points, ended up with 8.
Yeah, I mean, that's really shut down Keenan Allen. That's incredible. So
I don't think Sauce was really shadowing him necessarily, though, but Keenan plays a lot more out of the slot. Yeah. But they kind of, with Adams, they move him around a lot too. So I don't know if Sauce would necessarily follow him. I mean, it would make sense, but I don't know him well enough to know if he's good at playing all over, any side of the field or in the slot. I think he's probably capable of shadowing Adams, but it's the thought of benching Adams. I'd have to have some really good options. It's
even with that matchup.
Like I think this week I didn't watch much of that Giants Raiders game because it was not exciting. I don't think the Raiders needed to throw the ball really at all. So I think maybe it's more of a product of that, him having a bad week. If they're in closer games, then maybe there's a little bit more passes coming his way. I just don't know how successful it'll be. It's hard to say. It hasn't looked good so far in the 2 games that Aiden O'Connell's played. But I'd have a hard time benching Adams really in any matchup unless I just had some excellent other options that I could go with. It'd have to be like a good problem to have. Like, I've got 4 top receivers. I got to pick 3. I don't know which ones to choose. So, but I don't know if he has that luxury.
It was Angus' problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you guys a question here, and you guys give me your best guess answer. since week 5 to week 9, what is Devontae Adams' total point scored over those weeks?
It's probably about 20 points. It's not been great.
I would guess under 15.
I just keep seeing Jimmy
been
overthrown.
bad.
16 points weeks 5 through 9. Great guess, Timmy. Yes, I mean it's been bad. It's been really, really bad.
It's true.
Right? So and we're talking about matchups against Green Bay, who has a terrible defense, right? I mean, they've been giving up points like no other. The Rams, they finally shut down the Rams, but they've been giving up points like crazy. New England, he only got 2. Chicago, he only scored 6 against. Detroit, that's a good defense. He only got 1, but then against the Giants, who they just demolished, he only got 3.
Yeah.
So it's rough. It's rough out there.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to expect the usual. I mean, first he was just automatic for so long.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be a lot more boom or bust with him. But he's getting open. The dude still knows how to get open. He'll probably get open against Sauce. I just don't know if the ball will make it to him. That's the question mark. So
now I don't like him this week, but I do like him the next 2 weeks again. We talked about the Raiders matchups against Miami, against KC. Fire him up.
Especially if those are high scoring games, They're
gonna be forced. The Raiders are gonna be forced to throw the ball. They're not gonna be able to run the ball against those teams.
Yeah.
So
But even KC,
like good defense.
KC's they shut down number 1 receivers. I mean, they held Tyreek Hill to 8 catches, 50 something yards this week. Made him fumble. So they're underrated defense. So, but Miami, I'd be surprised if Miami doesn't turn their offense around. They haven't looked that good this last few weeks, but against the Raiders, I think they'll probably be back on track. I think they'll have Achane back, hopefully full strength. So
hopefully for you.
yeah. Seriously. Anyway,
we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot could happen. So when we're looking at the waiver wire, we were talking about it earlier, and performances like Gus Bus and can it continue? I don't think not, because of players who are starting to break out late round sleepers. Projection for this latter half of the season, the NFL season, right? We're at the halfway point for the NFL, but we're already at the 75% mark for fantasy football as far as regular season goes. We only have a few weeks left. Who are guys that you're going to start targeting now at the running back or wide receiver position? We talked about quarterback streamers, and the only really quarterback streamer after this week would be maybe Josh Dobbs. I wouldn't rely on Brett ripping farts, as I saw his on Twitter. I thought it was a pretty good nickname, Brett. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Ripping farts. But running back position. Who do you like off the waiver wire? I mean, there's a lot of change, a lot of fluctuation going on now. I think we're all targeting, 1 or 2 certain individuals. Who do you guys like?
Well, I already I imagine I'm saying one that we all thought of, Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked, there's really not anyone else that stood out in our league. It's just a wasteland of guys who don't score touchdowns and don't get a lot of carries. Keaton Mitchell looked pretty impressive. He is small. Gus might continue to have that goal line role that he should have had this entire season and didn't for whatever reason until I dropped him. But he just looked very explosive and adds kind of something that the Ravens offense hasn't really had. I mean, even, Lamar, of course, is a great runner, but he doesn't seem to be running as much as he usually does. And Keaton Mitchell just looked like I mentioned earlier, kind of like Achane, just the guy who can take any given carry the distance. So
I hope he comes back soon. What's the update there? Any updates on Achane?
They had their bye this week, and McDaniel said he should be good to go for week 11.
Excellent.
So,
I saw a couple clips of him out of practice. He wasn't wearing pads, but he was out doing work on the side.
I don't even know. I still don't know exactly what happened. I don't know what the injury was, but
he didn't have surgery. So it just said it was a severe hamstring.
I thought it was knee.
Yeah, it was maybe it was
Okay.
a sprained knee or something. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but I never did hear exactly what the official injury
The
was.
diagnosis.
But he should be good for week 11. So
Good deal.
Yeah.
But what about you, Kobe? Anybody out there besides? I know we all agreed that Keenan Mitchell's probably number one, but who else would you look at out there?
Depending on kind of your position, if you're in the top 3 or 4 spots, I would kind of look to shore up some of the running back handcuffs that you have on your team, especially if there's running backs with an obvious handcuff. So if you have Christian McCaffrey getting Elijah Mitchell, just in case something weird happens, you don't want to affect your playoff run, you'll already have the backup ready to go. If you are fighting for things, I guess obviously Mitchell's a good pick. I put down Antonio Gibson just because he's starting to get more work. That Washington team, their defense, I don't know, it's a fire sale. New owners are getting rid of stuff, so they're starting to fall behind in some of these games. He's getting more snaps. It's starting to level the playing field with Brian Robinson. I think he had 5 or 6 catches this past game for 40 or 50 yards. Plus, he got about the same amount of carries as well. So he's getting more and more in the field. And that was a game that was a lot tighter. So there should be some games coming up. You mentioned against the Cowboys and other teams where it's going to be more garbage time, maybe for the whole second half. So he would be the guy that they would most likely have in there on those throwing situations over Robinson. So I would take a shot on Gibson, especially if some of these matchups look like they're going to be garbage time dependent. Just get him in there and hope for the best, especially with how the running back landscape looks if you're really fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I love that outlook. Getting yourself, if you're a top tier team and you can afford to hold a handcuff, that's a great perspective to have, right? Especially when you start going to the later stage of the season. They're getting colder, right? Weather's gonna change a lot of these locations, these outdoor stadiums very quickly. So more potential for injury, especially at the running back position. You're right there. Someone I look at as potential to get, just because what I saw yesterday's Dallas Philly game, we did see Hurts leave with a little bit of an injury. I don't know if you guys saw. They were working on his knee. He came out of the game, and because of that, we saw a little bit more DeAndre Swift and a little bit more Kenneth Gainwell. So Kenneth Gainwell, ended up having a little bit more run this game.
3 carries.
Yeah, 3 carries, but he got the receiving touchdown, and so he's going to be more, I think, involved, as they're going to have to want to. If Hurts, who knows what the extent of the injury is, but they're probably not going to want to run him as much. So when I had Hurts last season, it was week 12 or 13 when he ended up hurting his shoulder, and it's because of the situation. They were running him too much. They're running him too much. So I feel like they're going to get a little smarter this time. Hey, we got 2 quality running backs here. Let's let them run the ball. Let's not get our guy hurt. We need him for late in the season. So, Gainwell could have some very, very flex worthy, not RB1, RB2, but flex worthy potential to pick up and maybe have on the bench there. So
shot in the dark.
Yeah, exactly, type of thing. So, but yeah, outside of that,
if they're blowing out a team or something too, maybe he could get more work. And Swift is, I mean, I had the impression he's kind of injury prone from Detroit, but I don't, maybe I'm off on that, but
no, that was part of the reason they let him go.
Yeah, so
traded him.
He's been healthy so far, but you never know. And that's kind of Gainwell's been kind of the only other one to really get consistent carries out of the backfield. I think even maybe Rashad Penny finally saw the field this week, if I remember right.
A little bit.
Not much.
Yeah, it's 0 points still, but yeah, I think he had a couple carries for like 8 yards. Yeah.
Yeah, that was boy. Yeah. I don't know what happened to him. He was kind of a sleeper pick at the beginning of the year, and just maybe he's not that good if he can't beat out some of those. Swift, I understand, but some of the backups you would have thought he would be able to beat out. But yeah, Gainwell could be a good one.
Yeah,
for some games here and there. Yeah.
So we were talking earlier about the Devontae Adams situation, right? Being elite, he drafted number 1 first round kind of pick for people, and or second round in some drafts. But for me, and right now, if you're stacking wins, I'm not going to start him this week against the Jets. You guys would, but the next week I definitely would. Who would you start as a wide receiver? We talked about a couple, but who would be a wide receiver you would target if you were desperately looking for a wide receiver? I got Amari Cooper. I've failed of starting him. I'm going to make sure to start him coming up here. It looks like Deshaun Watson's back, so I'm okay there. But maybe I want to share my second wide receiver position because I got Garrett, not Zach Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. Thank you. Garrett Wilson and Ayuk's coming back, but maybe I want to get a second wide receiver there. Who are you looking at, Cody?
I would look at Odell. He got the touchdown. He got the one passing touchdown today. That Ravens offense, it seems to be performing better and better. They do have the Browns this week, which is going to be tough, but Lamar, the way he can scramble and get away from that defensive line, I think it can cause some of those fire drill type plays. And Odell's great at those. He was looking pretty spry. He was out for a little bit with injuries and hampered, but they gave him 7 targets. He ended up with the touchdown. So he would be a guy that I think, especially if that Browns defense starts to focus on Zay Flowers and especially Mark Andrews, Odell could be a sneaky pickup that can get a touchdown and maybe another 40, 50 yards for you.
Yeah, Brown's gonna be a tough matchup, but you're right. They're gonna be honing in on Andrews, and Zay Flowers hasn't been as great as he's been early in the season. He's kind of had a little bit of regression, so yeah, it could be sneaky. What about you, Tim?
They, like we mentioned, they've been kind of just blowing teams out of the water lately.
Yeah.
So not a lot to go around for the passing game when you're winning by 4 or 5 touchdowns. But
In the first half.
sorry, I just wanted to clarify. Are you asking like just in general, like either a waiver wire guy
a waiver wire
by trade? Yeah, okay.
And by trade too. I mean, we could talk about trades. Like, would you trade Adams for, like, let's hypothetically say,
Garrett Wilson. You have Garrett Wilson on your roster. Would you trade Adams for Garrett Wilson?
I think I'd want Adams just for the prospect of what the season would be. Let's pick a higher tier wide receiver with a better quarterback situation. Michael Pittman or Devontae Adams for the rest of the season.
Still Adams.
Yeah, I'd rather have Adams. I think. I mean, I'd have to dig into the schedule, I guess, maybe just to see if there's any other obvious reason. But as far as a waiver guy, I would say Jahan Dotson, who has got 18 targets in the last 2 weeks. He's got touchdowns in both games, and again, the Commanders' defense is only probably going to get worse after trading 2 of their better defensive linemen. So they're probably there's going to be a lot of garbage time points to go around, and he's starting to come along. He's another one who before the season would have been considered kind of a sleeper that I thought would have done better up to this point, but maybe it's just a late bloomer. So
yeah, he's made his real way on a couple rosters and gotten dropped from each one so far, I think.
Hey, trust me, I drafted him and I haven't seen that production. That now I finally see it. I'm like, great. It took only 8 weeks. So,
well, you're complaining to the wrong guy here.
Yeah. So we've had our fair share of.
It's no Gus Edwards. So
no Gus Edwards. That is true. That's true.
It's not that bad, at least.
That's true.
So
I got another Devontae Adams potential trade drop. Devontae Smith or Devontae Adams?
Smith kind of got hurt in this last game, so I'd still lean Adams just because we don't know what's going on with his knee. He was limping around pretty hard at the end of that game against the Cowboys.
I'd rather Adams just because Smith is a clear number 2 for Philly. Yeah, he's a good number 2, but yeah, AJ Brown's the guy there. So still a much better offense, much better prospect to have decent games here and there, but probably not capable of the type of monster games you could get from Adams if he just gets average quarterback play, which we'll see. So, but
a player, I'd be targeting off the waiver wire. If we're looking for someone just to kind of fill in a spot, again with some buys coming up, the buys should be ending soon here. But we're, if you need a spot start, Wan'Dale Robinson. We saw with the Giants, just being a garbage offense that they are. He's like really one of the few bright spots at the wide receiver position. Saquon, he got 5 targets, a touchdown. He does catch a lot of balls around the line of scrimmage, but every time he has the ball in his hands, it's pretty electric. He did catch that ball in the back of the end zone this week against the Raiders. They really don't have anybody, right? We talk about the KC having a bad wide receiving core. I think the Giants is probably worse, but he's definitely the best of that, and I see him getting opportunity. Yeah. So, I would have gone Demarius Douglas too, but I actually picked him up last week. And I'm happy with that pickup because he's clearly number one on the Pats now, but still kind of best of a worst scenario, getting a guy who can potentially get you 9 to 12 points just by having that garbage time opportunity because those teams are always going to be playing from behind. So, yeah, I like Wan'Dale Robinson as a potential waiver wire pickup too.
Yeah, with Waller out, somebody's got to. Not that he was catching a ton of passes really before, but now it's somebody's got to step up there. So, and the Giants are probably going to be behind more often than not. So, should be a lot of passes thrown. Just again, it comes down to the quarterback play if the ball can actually get there. So.
Yeah, Danny DeVito is going to be not throwing the ball down the field. That's true. And that's where Wan'Dale catches the ball around the line of scrimmage. So might work out. PPR, he might be a PPR monster getting 5-6 catches a game for under 40 yards, but it could get you that touchdown, and it would be a good game in that scenario. So, yeah. But that's it, guys. I don't really have much to say, going into the weekend. When we talk about the schedules, what is the game that you guys are really looking forward to? Because we saw that great game over the weekend with Dallas and Philly. We saw that great Houston Bucks game. Anything that you see on the schedule that's going to pop that you're looking forward to watching this weekend?
I would say there's two, 49ers, Jaguars. Jaguars, they're in a weaker division, but they're looking pretty good. Both teams coming off a bye. Chase Young season. Let's see how he looks on that 49ers D-line. Probably getting Debo back. So it'll be interesting going against another team that's projected to be in the playoffs after their 3-game slide, seeing if they're able to kind of rebound and kind of right the ship and get that defense fixed. And then the other one that really stands out to me is the Browns-Ravens that we talked about. Great defense. Watson was kind of back and then going against Lamar on that Ravens offense. And it'll be interesting. That'll probably be, for me, the game of the day.
Yeah, I would agree. Browns Ravens definitely stands out. A lot of interesting matchups. I mean, Texans Bengals could be interesting as well to see how Stroud follows up that last monster game. I still think the Bengals probably win that, but and then the Lions Chargers. I'll be interested to see if the Chargers can beat a good team this time. I doubt it. But it is at least in LA. So
it's at home. That's right. Let's see.
The Lions. Do they ever really have any home games?
I know, but the Lions do play better at home. At least that this year they're definitely better at home. Goff is better at home, but it'll kind of be like a homecoming for Goff at the same time. So
in a dome, yeah.
I don't know, but that could be a decent game. And then believe it or not, the Broncos Bills Monday night. I just, the Broncos after their bye, after just beating the Chiefs the week before, see how if they're actually turning the page or if that was just a fluke. I don't know. I mean, Mahomes was sick, I know. So
yeah, does Vance Joseph have the defense actually back in kind of with the form like they were last season, or?
It's basically like. For both teams, it's whoever wins that. Like it's kind of almost like you don't want to say it's make or break, but if the Bills manage to lose that, then they're at, I think, what are they, 5-4 now? Then they'd be at 5-5.
500, yep.
And then the Broncos suddenly are showing signs of life, and I don't know. I think that could be interesting. I'd be surprised if the Bills don't win, but they just haven't looked all that sharp recently. It's basically Josh Allen is the entire team right now. So that could be decent, but we'll see.
Yeah, right now the Bills are out of the playoff picture. If playoffs started this week, they'd be out.
Yeah, it's like it almost feels like a must win for them, but the Broncos are pointing up a little bit at least. So we'll see, but that's all I got.
It's in Buffalo, so I definitely give the edge to the Bills there. If it was in Denver, I'd be very concerned for the Bills pulling off that W. But in Buffalo, I believe they'll get it done. So, I'm not really too concerned there. I think they'll find a way. The defense will step up at home. They're always very good. They get more energy from that crowd. But, yeah, they got to rely on the running game more. Leonard Fournette will be in the lineup for next week, so we'll see how they utilize him. Right, well, that's going to be interesting. We'll see how that affects James Cook's outlook because they just haven't had a running game, a legitimate running game this season, and they really need to lean on that. And I hope the coach, gets with his offensive coordinator. Hey, we got to run the ball at least 50 times a game. We can't have Josh throwing 45 times a game.
We sure can. No, we sure can. And keep Josh Allen running. Keep Josh Allen running. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't know. Pump the brakes on that a little bit because I got 2 guys catching passes from him. So
all right.
Come on now.
I don't even.
Why take the ball out of your best player's hands?
We talked about Edgar's team having too many Saints. I'm not even. I have 2 Bills, and that's a good offense to have players in. And I still, I don't like having so much reliance on one team, but hey, as long as he keeps throwing it as much, and they seem to be getting the majority of the targets. So hey, keep doing that. I don't care if they win or lose. Just keep doing that.
Worried about my wife here, guys. My wife's having rough weekends.
I care a little bit if they win. Okay, just I just don't want them blowing people out, not having to throw it, and so yeah.
There we go. Yeah. I'm excited to watch Browns Ravens. I think Lamar is going to show me a lot this week. Are they real? Are they for real? Not because the Ravens, I love their coaching staff. I always love what they bring. But are they going to be able to run the ball like they have been over the last few weeks? I don't know. Browns are very good all around defensively. So that is the match I'm looking for. It's actually going to be, you talk about make or break for the Bills Broncos. This AFC North matchup is going to be really the deciding factor on who's going to be leading division. Browns could be first place in division after this week if they win this game. So
the Browns are 5-3, Steelers 5-3, and the Ravens are 6-2, right? Yeah. So, and those AFC North division games are always
wild,
always tough. What are the Bengals sitting at too? I didn't even mention that.
They're 5-3, I believe.
5-3. Yeah. It's by far the best division.
They all would make the playoffs if it ended. The Bills would be out, and the whole AFC North would be in.
Yeah, it's like. I mean, I think the Steelers, probably a little fluky 5-3 at this point. They're probably the worst out of them. But
hey, Mike Tomlin is the best coach in football, and it's not even close. What he does with that team, I mean,
needs to reel in some diva wide receivers a little bit. But
look anyway. At him. Kenny Pickett.
I agree.
He's incredible what he does with that team every year after year. He just always has a winning record. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, good show.
Good show. Thank you, Andrew, for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. It was great hearing that. Any parting words for Ricky? Ricky's gonna get murdered this week, so you guys want to give Ricky advice on what he should do to avoid getting,
just do what you've been doing, and that should be enough to beat Andrew, Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, I like the confidence, but I'm not one to really talk too much shit like that. Say I'm going to murder somebody. So I don't think that usually works out too well when it comes to fantasy football. But hey, it's that could decide. I think, if Ricky does get this win this week, then
he's in the
playoff picture. Yeah. So, but without looking at the matchups, I think Ricky's probably got the better team. So I think I don't think it's going to be a murder, but we'll see. Good luck to both of you.
Cody, big matchup next week between you and I. I'm looking forward to it. We didn't bring it up, but I know that people are going to be looking forward to that. Both teams are very healthy, and I like the plus matchups I got. So we'll see what happens. You got anyone on bye next week? I haven't really looked at your roster yet.
For my roster, I think I do have, but it shouldn't matter. I feel pretty good. Going into it. As long as the Bills aren't on bye and they give Jahmyr Gibbs the ball next week, I'll be feeling pretty good about our matchup.
Hey, when's Monty coming back? Yeah, we need Monty back in the mix.
Who?
Monty.
Oh, I think you said Javante.
No, Monty.
No, keep him out of it. No, Gibbs is so much better.
Next week.
Yeah.
Next week
that'll be one thing I'm watching. I'm watching to see what that Gibbs Monty workload looks like.
Yep.
Yeah. Could be the deciding factor in our matchup.
Well, hopefully the Broncos just slow down Josh Allen just a bit. That's all I'm hoping for. Just a tad.
Yeah, we'll see. Good luck.
I'd like a 17-13, game. That'd be wonderful.
As long as those 2 rushing touchdowns go to Josh, I would like that too.
As long as they're both 50-yard touchdowns, one each to Diggs and Kincaid, that's a win-win all around. So
there we go.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think the Giants would hold the Bills to 14 points, but if the Broncos hold the Bills to 17, then that's
the victory in their book.
That'd be a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be very Broncos though to hold the Bills to 17 and only score 13. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Good show. See you next week. Enjoy
Good
the
show.
game.
Yep. See you next week. We're still left with Manny. Take care.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
All right.